Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion plays Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. We've been coming off some, I think our last video, if I remember correctly, for CSF macaques. It was like some of the worst play I've ever had my entire life, but this one, you know, you just gotta focus on the bright side. If we've already had rock bottom, how can we go any deeper? Well, just to be honest, like at least we got carried on our last run. I like the prism as far as items go, but our stats are very concerning right now. Below average rate of fire, probably, you know, on a literal level, below average damage. Ah! I'm not trying to make it seem worse than it is, but you know, 3.23 is not that good. Much worse when combined with the bad rate of fire. Speed is below average, HP is below average. Sorry, I got to thinking when I said rock bottom. So weird that there's a chain of brew pub style restaurants called Rock Bottom. Something I've thought about many times with respect to beer marketing. There's a Belgian beer called Delirium Tremens, which is named after like the late stages of extreme alcohol addiction and disease. And then a rock bottom is like, you know, the moment where you realize like, I'm either gonna die like this or my life's gonna get better. You know, I gotta start, you know, shoveling my way out one scoop at a time. They're courting, and I'm not saying it's, you know, the marketing makes sense. I mean, you got a monster trucks named Bigfoot. And monster trucks don't even have any feet except the two pushing the pedals, and I don't think they're talking about those. So it's not like they can't use that marketing. I'm just saying you're kind of like running with the devil, right? Like, do you think anyone's ever gotten? They've ever They've ever hit their rock bottom at rock bottom? That one, you know, I know there's like a law of large numbers thing, but rock bottom's not that popular. I wouldn't be surprised if nobody has hit rock bottom at rock bottom. It might have been part of the slope, but I'll tell you, someone has definitely had delirium tremens as a result of delirium tremens. I mean, it's like 9%. 7%? Anyway, it's a percentage. We're not going to worry about, I mean, we kind of like got screwed a little bit on our items here, but life goes on. We got Clicker, which is, you could take a stab on it now and then, but I really can't afford to lose the prism, as meager as its gains seem to be. You know, I think we gotta be smart about it. We also gotta be very careful about our HP. I'll use a bomb right there, and I'll use a bomb right here. Don't push that out of the... You pushed it out of the range of the... I didn't think you had the... You're pushing the sled. You're doing that workout I always see in the Nike commercials, or the Gatorade commercials. It takes a special breed to do what you do. And they're always... I was doing this, one workout is highly overrepresented in advertisements versus how often I actually see it in my gym. It's the one where they pick up the heavy ropes and they just start whipping their wrists around. You know what I mean. If you've seen a sports broadcast in the past 10, 15 years, you've seen somebody pick up two heavy skipping ropes. I can't believe we made it out of that one. And then just shake them back and forth, or up and down, really. Sean. I've never seen that one in my gym, and we got some weirdo, like, CrossFit, personal training style stuff that happens down there sometimes. I love it. Thank you. I told you, there's a few, like, again, you should never, I want this to be clear, I'm not mocking these people for working out. You know, that's what people are paranoid about. They're like, I don't want to go to the gym because I don't know what I'm doing. Right off the bat, people might make fun of me. You got nothing to worry about there. However, what you should do is get, like, someone who knows what they're doing, or like, you know, a program online that is sensible. Some of the stuff I've seen in my gym is, most of it by the book. Some of it makes me laugh. Like, I told this story, but One time there was a dude working with a client, and he wrapped like elastics, like resistance bands around his waist, and then just had the dude sprint as fast as he could while the trainer was like holding onto him and trying to keep him in place. Seems like rife with potential for injury. Also very disruptive to the other patrons, but they don't care. The other one, this was just a dude doing this by himself. I haven't seen him in a few weeks. I wonder if he... Honestly, I think he might have hurt himself or washed out. Because what he would do is like, you know, halfway through my workout was usually when he came to the gym. He would sprint on the treadmill for like a minute. As fast as it seemed like he could, which was very fast. I mean, he was sprinting, right? And then after a minute, he would jump off, run over to the dumbbell rack, grab 2 dumbbells, and just whip out like lightning fast bicep curls. Like just shoo, like 1 bicep curl a second. Okay, finally a damage upgrade. We definitely do not want that. And then he would rinse and repeat. He would sprint across the whole gym, go back to the treadmill, then when he's done a minute there, go back to the biceps. I get what he's doing. It's like the world's strangest circuit training. It's like my man was trying to min-max. He found a way to combine high-intensity interval training and also weightlifting, but not really. Anyway, those are the 2 that have gotten me the most, where you just have to shake your head. I took a photo of the of what I saw in the gym the other day. Almost made me want to die. This is not judgmental, but somebody was bench pressing at some point and then had just used not even the hooks to put the bar on, but just a little, almost like a metal rod that the safety bars hold on to inside of the power rack. I'm not trying to make these insular gym anecdotes. Me and my boys were lifted the other day, but people take it like that sometimes no matter what. You know, they always think that any... bringing up a story that happened at the gym is like, we get it, you work out. So, you know what I gotta do? I gotta just start... Yeah, I was at the grocery store the other day, and this guy, he was doing curls in the squat rack. What's up with that? I don't want to threaten or intimidate people. Anyway, the reason I took a photo of that was not to shame whoever did it. Well, I mean, it would actually be a good thing if it shamed them into never doing that again, because one of these days, if somebody keeps doing that, I'm literally just going to walk down into the gym and there's going to be a headless human body there. The head will not be far away. That's very dangerous. You're like 1/16 of an inch piece of metal away from, 140 pounds dropping onto your neck at any given time from 2 feet above your, where you're laying. Thought it was worth a shot. Dude, this run blows. Again, not trying to be negative, just calling it like I see it. This is a bad run right now. Duh. It's the other reason I know top 40 music now is because personal trainers they blast their own music in the gym through the speakers. I mean, I got my own music on, and by music I mean Doom 1 while Dan does a Tarkov run, but it's just impolite. Anyway, it's Sunday. How was your weekend? My weekend, thank you for asking, implicitly at least. It was pretty good. Can't complain. I mean, it was very good. Saturday, we went out, for a little bit had like a nice Lebanese lunch. Nothing much more to talk about there. It was just nice. And then it was Pokémon GO Community Day. So we hung out in one of the Pokémon GO dense neighborhoods in Vancouver. Caught a few shiny Slackoths. Caught about 500 Slackoths I threw right into the grinder. Right after that, we went, oh snap. We got movie tickets to see John Wick 3 at 6:45. Went and saw John Wick 3. I gotta admit, perhaps even the very last Isaac episode, I was talking about, how much I like the John Wick franchise. What else is new? Who doesn't? But John Wick 3 exceeded my expectations, which were already high. That movie, it goes places. I think it's very good. I hate that, and I'm doing my best not to do it, but the temptation is always there. I hate that there's always, like, a little bit of the temptation to be like, well, it's pretty good for an action movie. I mean, it's not Citizen Kane, but at the same time, I had a good time. I mean, it's not like, it doesn't have the same kind of sentimentality as something like a Ye Olde Annie Hall. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an action movie. Turn your breath. Okay, it's a 4 out of 10. That's how I feel like other people talk about action movies. Dude, I'm a breathless fan and connoisseur of action movies. And I'm willing to say, I think John Wick 3 on the action movie scale might actually be like a 10 out of 10. And I'm being sincere. I think it's up there with your Terminators, your Terminator 2s, your Aliens. Alien isn't really an action movie. You know, with your Commandos, although that's kind of on a different scale. I got a lot of enthusiasm for that movie. It's beautiful. Like, they choreographed it. There's moments of that movie, they didn't really choke me up or bring me to tears. But, like, just the coolness of what's happening on the screen was enough for me to be like, yo, I'm proud of the filmmakers. Because I'm sure at some point, they pitched some stuff, and they were like, I don't know, do you think this is like a little bit too far? And they went, nah, dude, it's John Wick, let's give it a shot. And then they did it, and they did it well. And it looks so natural, I can tell. I don't mind you hanging around, making John Wick 4. Anyway, it was a great movie. Had, decent dinner afterwards. I did make a mistake on Saturday. I had poor nutrient timing. I ended up hungry at the movies, I didn't want to eat something that was terrible for me. So I got a grilled chicken sandwich at the movie theater. And, man, I gotta tell you, I don't want to spin out 20 minutes of material about this grilled chicken sandwich. And it wasn't like, people always talk about movie theater prices being so expensive. Yeah, popcorn, soda, candy, it's crazy expensive, right? With the ticket itself. This grilled chicken sandwich was like $7 Canadian. What have I done? That's pretty low by, Canadian standards for, a sandwich at, I don't want to call it a restaurant, but even like a concession sandwich. That's on the low side. So I was pleased with that, but then when I got it, I was like, what did I expect, dude? It's not even that it was, and this is another dubious item. I'm starting to get a little nervous here. It's not even that it was like a microwaved chicken breast. That's to be expected. Or that the bun was just like sugar water flour mixed together. It was the hastiness of the assembly. I don't want to be that guy, the people, they don't take pride in their jobs anymore. It's sad. I get it. You're making not good money working at a movie theater. Nobody's passion is like, I'd love to make reheated chicken sandwiches at the movie theater. I'm sympathetic to that. But it was just so hastily assembled. The chicken breast was hanging out half outside of the bun. Every time I bit in, a little bit of mayo-soaked lettuce would poke out of one side of the sandwich. It was, and then later, I'm happy to report I did not get any sort of foodborne illness. But later, my stomach was hitting me with some growling. And I'm like, dude, I'm against this kind of rhetoric for the most part. But, when I was thinking for a second, like, hey, maybe I've, given myself food poisoning. I was doing the reverse engineering, and I was like, you know what? Cineplex Odeon chicken sandwich. Those are like 4 words that when you put together, it really sounds like it solves the puzzle of who gave you salmonella. But I'm happy to report I'm not actually ill. I'm feeling fine. Great night's sleep last night. Fully adjusted, back on the Canadian schedule, over my jet lag. Winning games in every series right now. Not just Isaac. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling switched on. Now, you're going to have to humor me here, because I'm going to hit you with another Pokémon GO point, okay? I know if you turn up your nose at Pokémon GO, please do. Just keep watching, okay? But I have a theory, because whenever I get into a game and I play more of it, and at the end of the day, you can't really be that into Pokémon GO. You can be. I've seen people post on, the subreddits about the game. They're like, I play it 8 hours a day. And you're really just like, how? Did you spend all day in the park? That actually owns. Don't get me wrong. I'm jealous. Some of us have to pretend to work for a living. but more just like, you know, it's the kind of game you turn it on now and then. You're at a restaurant, there's a Pokestop nearby, you spin it, you know? But I've been trying to make up for lost time because I got into the game so late, right? So I read the subreddits about it, and I have a theory about video game subreddits, and I'm sorry to be this guy, but any sufficiently large video game subreddit, in my opinion, is destined to turn toxic. We have to fight against the toxicity in even like subreddits related to me. I'm not saying, you know, I'm such a pure person that like there shouldn't be any toxicity associated with me. I'm just saying I'm a dude who plays games on the internet. And then, like, occasionally there are still people who are like, I hope he dies. That's pretty rare, to be fair to everybody. But, like, then there's some people who are like, I'm not saying he should die, but he is too stupid to live. And then when they get, you know, reprimanded, they're like, well, I don't know. I didn't realize we were making a hug box here. But either way, I have a theory about subreddits. Okay? Not necessarily communities in general. I think, you know, I'm not saying Reddit is unique in this, obviously, because I don't think that's true either. But I think, you know, there are certain things about gaming communities in general. Like, people on those subreddits they're real rude to Niantic. And I think that I've seen that on other subreddits. It seems like they usually start from like, let me put it this way. I'm not trying to necessarily defend crappy game practices from developers that do anti-consumer stuff. And even if I was, I wouldn't want to say it because it would get me in a lot of trouble. But either way, I think that most communities like this, they spawn from people that are passionate. Passion is great, but it's also scary, you know? I'm gonna die. Yep. Dude, I know we got hit a couple of times there when we shouldn't have, but that run was it was an effing nightmare. Let's start again. I'm not too sore about it because, again, they hit us with some garbage there. That run, and then, okay, I feel the neurotransmitters coming out here. That's what it takes now to do that to us on a run. That's what it takes. We had like 6 items in a row that were basically useless for us. Didn't provide us with any stats except speed that we really needed. Anyway, I'm not bitter. I'm going to continue on this Pokemon Go thing. You know, people that are the most in love with something are also, you know, not always necessarily, but I think in many cases most likely to become the most, like, quote-unquote betrayed, upset, etc., at decisions that the company makes. So, like, even though I think people lose the perspective that video games are toys made for leisure a lot of the time, I'm not saying you can't be passionate about them, serious about them, etc., etc. Quite the opposite. But you should recognize that at the end of the day, if you're getting into arguments where you're actually getting upset, like emotional and rude, like on a huge level to other human beings about their opinions about toys, that's actually just hilarious. I hope you know that I'm laughing about that. And then that motivates you to not do that in the future. Because it's just kind of funny. Like, whenever I see somebody, like, on Twitter or something, and they're like, you know, they tweet, like, the official PlayStation account or something, and they're like, too bad Xbox is better, lol. I just go, you know what? That owns. That's really funny, to be honest. Anyway, so I was on the Pokemon Go subreddit yesterday, and there was a guy on there, and he's going to Pokemon Go Fest, which is a big, you know, people travel to Chicago, and they have special, like, Pokemon spawns and releases and events and et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people wanted to go. So many people wanted to go, they had to do a lottery system in order to choose who got tickets. Now, there's also something else in Pokemon Go called EX Raids. As, like, every weekend or every other weekend, if you completed, you know, enough tasks, you have a chance to get invited for a raid, which is like a multiple person boss battle where you can defeat and catch a special Pokemon. This guy made a post that was like, it's actually outrageous. I'm gonna be at Pokemon Go Fest in Chicago. I'm flying to Chicago for Pokemon Go Fest, and yet Niantic had the audacity to give me an EX raid pass I can't even use. This is insane. Why wouldn't they make the EX raid on Monday so that people who went to Pokemon Go Fest would actually be able to go to the EX raid? Now you gotta keep in mind here, if the man sounds right in principle, I very much disagree, but either way, you gotta keep a couple of things in mind. One of them is, it's a privilege to be able to go to this Pokemon Go Fest. Yeah, I'm not saying it's on my radar, but, you know, it's the kind of thing many people wanted to go and were not able to go. So people replied to him and went like, hey, did you think about how selfish this sounds for like more than a second and a half before you posted it? And he said, well, I thought about it longer than your parents did when they decided to conceive you. And I laughed because it's funny. Like, what he said is funny. Not because he's a funny guy, but because, whoa, that's hilarious. It's like when Dwight Schrute says something. Everybody's laughing. They're not necessarily laughing with you. You know what I mean? It's a game where like a cute little creature appears on your screen, and then you flick upwards with you do a little swipe motion, and you're like, I caught it. Isn't that, look at that, I caught a Voltorb. And he's like, well, just so you know, your parents didn't want you. You were an accident. So how do you feel about that, scumbag? I don't know what it is about, it's probably not just games. It's definitely also sports at the very least. And everybody knows now that it's politics as well. But for some, I see it happen in every community. Like, I've been playing Escape from Tarkov. Every games community on Reddit, I should say, specifically. You know, I've been playing Escape from Tarkov. If you only followed the subreddit for Escape from Tarkov, you would think that the game is an unplayable mess. You would, and there are problems in Tarkov, okay? Like, and we've talked about them a lot in our Tarkov content. Particularly like performance-based issues recently. But I think that game is awesome. I think it's a totally unique experience on top of that. And the subreddit, you know, I'm not saying, because the opposite is also frustrating. Whenever there's like a problem and people just ignore the problem and go like, you know, Niantic's doing their best, or, you know, B-State Games is doing their best. Yeah, we'll definitely grab this. Be nice. I mean, you should be nice, or at least kind, or, you know, not rude to them as human beings. But that doesn't mean that you should not post criticism. But I think it's just, I think it ties into something I've been saying a lot lately. You're probably sick of hearing me say it, but, you know, that, like, anger is like intoxicating. You know, people love to be angry. And if somebody's like, I had a great experience playing Tarkov today, people are like, you know, shove it up your whatever. And if people are like, please upvote for visibility, my game crashed and I lost a gun, people are like, this is just, you lost, are you kidding me, man? You lost a freaking gun? Are you being, you lost $13,000 of a digital firearm? This is, we gotta get the YouTubers on this one. This is out. And support didn't reply to you within 17 minutes? You know, this is why nobody trusts developers these days. Blah, blah. Anyway, you get the idea. I just say, you know, hate sells. People, they always think they got it sorted out. They say sex sells. Maybe, like, it probably still does, don't get me wrong. But I always, like, whenever there's ads that are, this is way back in, like, the mid-1990s, they have, like a sexy lady biting on a controller, and it would say, like, you want to play? 3DO, buy a $700 game console. Even as a kid, I was like, she seems like a nice lady, but I don't really want to buy a 3DO. Should be saying anger sells. If you can get people riled up, you can get them to upvote, you can get them to subscribe, you can get them to inexplicably donate money to the person who's bringing the issue to their attention in the first place. And thank God, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have known that this atrocity was happening. You know, you get the idea. So I always tell people to be wary of anger. It's easy to slip into that anger, you know? Why not? Why you gotta tell the, you know, the dude, admittedly, he is calling you selfish in this situation, which probably doesn't feel nice. But simultaneously, you know, you were being selfish. And, well, to be fair, maybe he does have an intimate knowledge of the fact that that person making the suggestion was indeed an accident or an immaculate conception, for all I know. Okay, 0.01 damage is not going to cut it. I'm just going to level with you. I'm just sad. You know, it's a very, like, oh, why can't we all be nice sort of sentiment, but it's more just like, why did the communities about these toys, why do they always turn like this, you know what I mean? It's very weird to me that there's that kind of like argument and bravado about it. I have a friend, well, he's not a friend, like an acquaintance, and I'm not just diminishing our relationship because I'm bringing up something negative to him, but he's always been like that as well, to the point that it's been like uncomfortable sometimes. By the way, he's not a streamer, so, you know, every time I'm like, I have a friend, people go, it's Malf. I'm like, it's not Malf. And they're like, well, it's Josh then. I'm like, I got more than 2 friends. I have 4 friends, okay? Don't insult me. But he was always like that. Like, his trash talk, even now, like as a 30-year-old, I see him on Facebook. He'll be like, you know, check out what this, you know, bad word did to me in Magic Online. Stupid bad word. Not the worst words, by the way, but still some pretty bad ones. I'm not the arbiter of the worst words, but I think from an objective standpoint, he's not hitting you with the worst. Just bad ones. I'm not making excuses for him. I haven't talked to him in like 15 years. Because of this, I mean, this is one part of it, really. Why don't you talk to him? Well, because it's not my responsibility to live my life and also his life. That's, I mean, might sound a little selfish. It is selfish. You know, how many lives is a person supposed to live? I think I guess we're going to buy that. I think we're just going to stick with the D8 here. Anyway. So that's how I wasn't even like, nah, humanity. I just found it actually humorous. I was like, man, even, you know, when like a Call of Duty game has a community that gets a reputation for being toxic, I totally understand. Well, I shouldn't say that. I understand more because that game, it puts people in an emotional state, and, you know, there's a certain level of like, you know, perceived masculinity around shooting games and, you know, ego maybe, bravado, testosterone, etc., etc. When it happens for something like Pokemon, I'm like, dude, really? We're really having an argument over like who's the biggest nerd? Can't we all just be nerds? Have to be like the one who's king nerd? I don't know. Then again, I'm not hating on anybody for this, but I did see some people yesterday at Pokémon GO's community day that had like, they were literally playing the game on like 5 cell phones simultaneously. Like, look, I'm not gonna police your enjoyment of Pokémon GO. I've only been playing for like a week, but I feel people don't trust me when I say things like this. When I say like, you know, I don't really want to buy loot boxes anymore because they make me feel gross. People are like, yeah, one game's gonna get you. Not for a long time, brother. What about NHL? I pre-ordered the gold edition. I'll admit, I'll always be open and upfront about that. But I did not... Hold on, we got a new item in here. I did not buy any more loot boxes. As soon as I felt myself being tempted, I said, this is dumb and manipulative, and I bounced. I got the heck out of Dodge. Haven't played it since. It's a very common sentiment for me, actually, is like, when I lose my luster for something... I was playing probably like, you know, 2 or 3 hours of NHL 19 a night. Having a good time, by the way. Enjoying myself. And then one day I just, you know, I had like a bad game online. And I thought to myself, like, am I really grinding like hundreds of hours over the course of the month to get a free card when the game would just let me get it for putting like 15 bucks into the till? And I said, yeah. And I think where a lot of people go from that is they would go like, all right, I'll give you the 15 bucks because it's worth more to me. What I went is, this game doesn't respect me, or itself, really. It's not actually a game anymore. It's just a tool designed to specifically make money. I mean, all games, all products are, at least to some extent, but, you know, it's like a little too naked and transparent for me. So, as soon as that is like a switch in my head, I haven't played it since. And I didn't go through withdrawals. Moreover, it wasn't even like, I'm really struggling to find something to do. We live in a world of infinite recreation. The only thing that limits you, well, I mean, money, sure, but also time is the big one. It's not that hard, so... You know, I bring that up explicitly, exclusively just to say, you know, people are like, maybe one day that's going to be you on 5 cell phones. I'm like, nah, dude. Sometimes Kate's like, you know, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Can you use my phone for me to play Pokemon Go for like a spot that's got a lure or something like that? I find it annoying to play on 2 phones. I do it because she's my wife and she told me to. And I know it's good for me. Plus, I mean, it's nothing like you catch a nice Pokemon, she comes back and you go, guess what? And it's like you did something even though you didn't really. Playing on 5 phones just strikes me like, when do you actually get to enjoy yourself? But you know, I might be wrong. I might be wrong about that one. I don't know. It just strikes me as a little too much. You know what is cool though? Lest this seem like super negative about games. At Community Day, it really put into perspective how diverse the player base for that game is. You know, I compared it to Magic the Gathering, and you know, like Magic, it's not Magic's fault, I think. Like the corporation, you know, Wizards or Hasbro, I think they've been doing a much better job of trying to make sure, like, hey, Magic's for everybody. But you know, when I used to play Magic back in like 2016, and I guess to a lesser extent in 2018, there's a lot of people that look like me that played Magic. There are a lot of dudes in their, you know, teens, 20s, and 30s, and 40s, to be fair. That was the prime demographic. And they all had shirts with, like, airbrushed Led Zeppelin album art on them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's where you go to meet your kind of people. Pokemon Go, I was surprised. You know, there were, like, hundreds of people all in this one spot. You know, like 500 meters by 500 meters kind of setup. There were, you know, obviously people of, you know, all different styles for one. I was amazed to see all different ages. Like, there were 2 dudes definitely in their 60s. They were walking around, and I was, you know, I'll admit, I made an assumption, and that was wrong of me. But I went, you know, I bet these 2 old dudes are really confused about why there's so many people in the neighborhood right now. They walked by, I looked at their phones, spinning curveballs, brother. There were kids, senior citizens, young and old, you know? It was cool. I'm not saying it's, oh, isn't it magical? It's just neat, though, because I think that a lot of games tend to have a much less diverse player base. And I think that having, you know, exposure to those sort of, like, you know, other people's perspectives might also help mellow out a community. Instead of it, I mean, I'm part of the angry dude demographic. If you're watching this and you're, you know, like me, and you're getting angry at being typecast as an angry dude, you can't win, right? Because if you get angry, then you're proving my point, and if you don't get angry, then it wasn't meant for you in the first place. I say this with no pleasure, but we're like the snarky generation. Like, every time there's a cool announcement for something, we're like, man, I can't wait until they try to sell me toilet paper for my digital butt crack. You know, that's our lot in life, and I think there's a place for it. You know, you got to remember that, you know, people my age grew up in an era of games criticism where some of the magazines, which were like the only sources where you could get games reviews, were like owned or partially funded by the publisher of the games or the consoles themselves, you know? So I think for a while, cynicism made sense, and it was like, check it out. These are the only dudes. They're free from the corporate teat. They can tell it like it is. And then, you know, unfortunately, maybe we went a little bit too hard on like, hey, look at this dumb game. And now all of a sudden, you know, we look like dinosaurs. We owe it to the industry to be not necessarily breathlessly positive, but less breathlessly negative. But this is a favored topic for conversation. I'm actually embarrassed. It comes up quite often. But, you know, people, I was looking at my own subreddit, and people were like, NL has, or no, it was on Twitter, actually, because Josh said it's weird to see you enjoying things. Which is like the most hurtful thing that anyone's ever said to me. But he's a good friend, so I take it I take it honestly and I take it seriously. But people were like, it's true. But Happy Ryan has been like a good character arc. And you know what it, I mean, there's a few different things tied up to the, like, why am I having a year where I got more of a smile on my face? Well, like, honestly, like, you don't want to hear it, but like a big part of it is diet, exercise, and sleeping well. But then another big part of it is actively fighting against like my worst, most basic impulses to, like, whenever anything gets mentioned, to be like, yeah, good thing's good, but what about the bad thing about it we don't even know about yet? And I've found, I'm starting to, at least I think, find that balance between like being a little, I don't want to say edgy, because that's got negative connotations now for sure, but being a little, like, you know, of a curmudgeon, but a likable curmudgeon without it being like, food, huh? Yeah, it tastes good, but it makes you fat. Water? Yeah, it's good for you, but drink too much and you'll drown, you know? You realize, like, everything's got good, everything's got bad. It's very easy to find the bad. That's not a talent. Unless you're like really good at it. Then maybe, but I don't know. I've never gotten to that point, I suppose. It's really what it is, you know. John Lennon, maybe he was a wise man in some ways. Yeah, but he did. Okay, but that one's valid. He did do some regrettable things. But he said at the end of Abbey Road, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. The attitude you put out in the universe, this is not a new age, you know, the secret vision board. You put a Lamborghini up on your wall, and then 10 months later, all of a sudden, you got a lease. But I think it's true, like, you know, when you put out a positive attitude, you get proportionally more positivity in return. I do not care about Spawn. Not at the point in the video where we've already had a loss, anyway. Now, mind you, what does that say about John Lennon, that he was, you know, gunned down outside of his New York home? Maybe he didn't put enough love into the universe, or maybe, you know, even if the love you make is relatively high, you might just roll a natural D0 now and then. Like we did on our first run. Good segue, okay. You might be one. You know, it's hard to be in the content. It's not hard. I mean, it's just hit the record button. Talk for an hour and a half. But it's weird being a content creator during E3. Which is when, you know, this video will go up probably like the official day one of E3, I think, which is like funny because it's also like the last day that people that are not at E3 can actually like enjoy it. All the conferences are over. Well, actually Nintendo's will anyway, it doesn't matter. But I don't really produce much E3 coverage myself. So you might be asking, like, NL, what have you seen from this E3 that you're excited about? Well, like, conceptually, I'm excited about the George R.R. Martin From Software game. I haven't seen the trailer for it yet. I think they released it today during the Microsoft conference. You know, I mean, I record a lot. I stream a lot. I get most of my info secondhand from chat. Larian Studios making a Divinity-style Baldur's Gate 3 sounds awesome. People think I hate Divinity or I don't have the patience to beat Divinity, which is insulting to me. The thing is, Divinity 3 or Baldur's Gate 3, you know, let me just... A game in the style of Divinity made by Larian Studios. It was fun to play with Mathis, but it'll be a slam dunk to get some unity going there. And that's not a knock on Mathis. Mathis and I, we have a good dynamic. Maybe it was like a 8.5 out of 10 for Divinity Original Sin. I think a full stack party with a, to put it politely, a wide variety of gaming styles and personalities would be hilarious. Me and Mathis may be a little bit too much alike. We're both kind of trying to play snarky characters. Also, he kept casting high physical armor on the tank, even though the tank was already armored up, and then his very low armor DPS character consistently died. I mean, I'm just... No, I haven't given it up yet, okay? I mean, like, how hard... Okay, I'm just joking. Don't want to go too hard on my good friend Mathis. Especially while he's away at E3, it's harder to defend himself. But I think, like, that would be an awesome... Assuming it comes out and it's as great as you would expect the Larian Studios Baldur's Gate to be, that would be a great fit for Unity. No! I just wanted to go to the devil deal. What have I done, dude? Alright, I lost a little focus in this episode. It's okay. It happens, man. It happens. Don't build it up in your head. We've beaten this guy 300 times, you know. This is a harder boss, and we okay, like, I'm relying on you guys to use your, don't use your angry brains on this one, okay? Oh, Ruka and Tomo want to get out. Probably because I just shouted. Do you really think, after, I don't know, 400 episodes of never going to Delirium, actively avoiding Delirium, and talking smack about Delirium, the Void, and most of the optional bosses and Isaac in general, you really think to shave 5 minutes off of a video, I would pretend to accidentally go down to the Delirium floor? You would be wrong. That's where you go, you would be right, and that's why I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling comment. No, ain't like that. That was just literally the ultimate brain fart. But, I mean, our stats are actually... You should be insulted that I thought there was a chance we would lose. Now that I realize we have 38 damage. And 3 rate of fire. That's pretty good. We're not even, like... we're not even close to being on the razor's edge here. Super armor or otherwise. Excuse me. How did you sneak through that? I don't buy it. Anyway, I think there's been other stuff. I don't know. I wish the E3... It's very selfish. I wish the E3 press conferences all fell during the NLSS so that I could co-stream them easily. But, you know, when it comes down to it, like... It's both my strength and my folly, right? You can set your watch to Northernlion. You know... 6 a.m. Isaac, 9 a.m. Slay the Spire, 12. If there's VODs available from whatever we're playing on the Sunday stream, they're going to be there. You know, you get Tarkov videos or something with Dan and Mathis 3 or 4 times a week starting on Saturdays or Sundays. You know, Gungeon at 3 p.m. or something else, you know, at 3 p.m. and then maybe another video at 2 or 6, right? You can set your watch to it. But... it also means when you want the new content, sometimes I do, you know, I'll admit, I love routine and I exhibit a little bit of hesitation. But, for better or for worse, this is the position I want to be in, you know? I would rather record 3 Gungeon episodes than meme over top of the Bethesda conference. And I hate to say it, because I think it's like a genuinely unpopular opinion. Not one of those unpopular opinions that's like, you know, unpopular opinion. I prefer hot dogs to hamburgers. Yeah, about as unpopular as you were when your parents conceived you. I'm just saying, this is where there's no place else I'd rather be. Everyone loves Marineland. Yo, this is incredible damage. Marineland is it's an Ontario amusement park / aquarium sort of deal. So if you don't get the reference, don't beat yourself up over it. I mean, it's a weird one. You'll be sinking, diving, soaring high, and then the coaster ride will take you to the sky. It's a to go down at Friendship Cove. Everyone loves Marine. And now, how do you know this? Nobody that lived in Ontario ever asks, how do you know most of the Marineland theme songs? You know why? They've got the most aggressive marketing campaign of any amusement park I've ever seen in my entire life. Even, I know the Six Flags Old Man, it's even more aggressive than that. You can't watch the 9 a.m. news in, you know, Brockville, Ontario without, you know, he'll be sinking, diving, soaring high. We got a cotton candy fountain 30 feet high. He'll be schmoopin' doopin' the schmoopity doop boop. Everyone loves And then they Marine Lane. That lady's been... She's been buying Birkin bags since 1992 as a result of the royalties on that song. Anyway, we lost, but that one we lost on was for suckers. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps us a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya.